The year is 2025. Donald Trump, fueled by vengeance and a lust for power, is back in the Oval Office. His Department of Justice, a mere shadow of its former self, has become a weapon wielded against his enemies, real and perceived. This is the perilous backdrop against which acting FBI Director Brian Driscoll took a courageous stand, defying an order that struck at the very heart of American justice. Driscoll's act of defiance was a pivotal moment in our nation's history, a stark reminder that the battle for democracy is far from over. Driscoll's refusal to comply with an outrageous demand from the DOJ to fire agents involved in the January 6th investigations and hand over a list of 1,000 names sent shockwaves through the corridors of power. It was a bold act of defiance against a president who demands absolute loyalty, even at the expense of the law. This is the story of that defiance, a tale of bravery. It is a story of courage under fire, of principle over political expediency. It is a story that every American needs to hear and understand. The events of January 6, 2021, shook the nation to its core. It was a day that will be remembered as one of the darkest in American history. A violent mob, incited by the defeated president, stormed the Capitol building in an attempt to overturn the results of a free and fair election. The scenes of chaos and violence were broadcast live, shocking viewers around the world. The images of that day, the shattered glass, the Confederate flags paraded through the halls of Congress, the fear in the eyes of elected officials, will forever be seared into the nation's memory. It was a stark reminder of the fragility of democracy. In the aftermath of the attack, the FBI launched a massive investigation into the events of January 6th. The scale of the investigation was unprecedented, involving thousands of agents and analysts. Hundreds of people were arrested and charged with crimes ranging from trespassing to seditious conspiracy. The legal repercussions were swift and severe, aiming to send a clear message that such actions would not be tolerated. The investigation, however, did not stop at the rioters themselves. The FBI was determined to uncover the full extent of the conspiracy. It soon became clear that the FBI was also investigating the role that Trump and his allies may have played in inciting the violence. Trump, predictably, was furious. His anger was palpable and he made no effort to hide it. He lashed out at the FBI, calling the investigation a witch hunt and a hoax. His rhetoric was aimed at discrediting the investigation and rallying his base. He demanded that the investigation be shut down and that those responsible for it be punished. His calls for retribution were loud and relentless. His demands, however, fell on deaf ears. The FBI remained steadfast in its mission, undeterred by the president's threats and accusations. The FBI, under the leadership of Director Christopher Wray, continued its investigation, undeterred by the president's threats. Wray's commitment to justice was unwavering. Trump, however, was not one to be easily deterred. He was known for his persistence and his ability to hold grudges. He bided his time, waiting for the right moment to exact his revenge. His determination was evident to those around him. That moment came in 2025, when Trump returned to the White House. His comeback was both dramatic and controversial. One of his first acts as president was to fire Christopher Wray and replace him with a loyalist, Brian Driscoll. It was a move that sent shockwaves through the political landscape. What Trump didn't realize was that Driscoll, though a conservative, was also a man of principle. His loyalty was to the law, not to any individual, and he was about to make that abundantly clear. The stage was set for a new chapter in the ongoing saga of American politics. The directive came down from the Department of Justice like a thunderbolt, shaking the very foundations of the nation's law enforcement. Attorney General Kash Patel, a Trump loyalist with a history of bending the law to serve his master, stood at the helm of this controversial order. He ordered acting FBI Director Brian Driscoll to fire all agents involved in the January 6th investigations, a move that sent ripples of fear and uncertainty through the Bureau. It was a blatant attempt to obstruct justice, a naked power grab designed to shield Trump and his allies from accountability, undermining the very principles of democracy. The order was as sweeping as it was chilling, casting a long shadow over the integrity of the FBI. Driscoll was to provide the DOJ with the names of over 1,000 FBI agents, anyone who had even touched the investigation, no matter how tangentially. This list would serve as a tool for a political witch hunt. The message was clear. The DOJ under Trump wasn't interested in justice, only in protecting its own. The scales of justice were being tipped, not by evidence, but by political allegiance. This wasn't law enforcement, it was a political purge, a systematic dismantling of the FBI's independence. The directive sent shockwaves through the FBI, leaving agents in a state of disbelief and dismay. Veteran agents, some with decades of experience, were stunned. They had never seen such a direct assault on their mission and values. Never in the history of the Bureau had there been such a blatant attempt to politicize law enforcement. The FBI, an institution built on the principles of justice and integrity, was now under siege. Driscoll, a man who had spent his career upholding the law, was now being asked to violate it in the most egregious way imaginable. His principles and his duty were being put to the ultimate test. He knew that if he complied with the directive, he would be complicit in the destruction of the FBI as an independent law enforcement agency. The very fabric of the institution was at stake. He was faced with a choice: obey an unlawful order and betray his oath to the Constitution, or defy the President of the United States and face the consequences. The weight of this decision was immense, and the future of the FBI hung in the balance. Brian Driscoll didn't sleep that night. The weight of his decision pressed down on him like a heavy blanket, suffocating any chance of rest. The weight of the decision pressed down on him. He knew that defying a direct order from the president could have dire consequences, potentially ending his career and exposing him to the wrath of a vengeful Trump. He knew that defying a direct order from the president could have dire consequences, potentially ending his career and exposing him to the wrath of a vengeful Trump. The stakes were incredibly high and the pressure was immense. Yet, he also knew that to comply would be to betray his oath to the Constitution, and the very principles upon which the FBI was founded. The core values of justice, integrity, and accountability were at risk. In the quiet hours before dawn, Driscoll made his decision. He would not comply. He would not be remembered as the man who destroyed the FBI to protect a corrupt president. He would not be remembered as the man who destroyed the FBI to protect a corrupt president. Instead, he would stand up for what was right, even if it meant standing alone. He would stand up for what was right, even if it meant standing alone. The news of Driscoll's defiance spread like wildfire throughout the FBI. The news of Driscoll's defiance spread like wildfire throughout the FBI. A collective sigh of relief mixed with admiration rippled through the ranks. A collective sigh of relief mixed with admiration rippled through the ranks. "He's a stud," read one internal message, capturing the sentiment of many within the Bureau. "He's a stud," read one internal message, capturing the sentiment of many within the Bureau. Driscoll, a Trump appointee, was now a hero to the very people he was appointed to control. Driscoll, a Trump appointee, was now a hero to the very people he was appointed to control. He had chosen principle over party, integrity over self-preservation. He had chosen principle over party, integrity over self-preservation. The world watched in astonishment. The world watched in astonishment. In an era marked by political polarization and the erosion of democratic norms, here was a man willing to risk everything to defend the rule of law. In an era marked by political polarization and the erosion of democratic norms, here was a man willing to risk everything to defend the rule of law. Newspapers hailed Driscoll's courage. Editorials praised his integrity. Newspapers hailed Driscoll's courage. Editorials praised his integrity. Social media erupted with messages of support. Social media erupted with messages of support. Driscoll had become an unlikely symbol of resistance, a beacon of hope in a darkening world. Driscoll had become an unlikely symbol of resistance, a beacon of hope in a darkening world. But the fight was far from over. But the fight was far from over. Driscoll knew that his defiance would have consequences. Driscoll knew that his defiance would have consequences. The question was, how far would Trump go to exact his revenge? The question was, how far would Trump go to exact his revenge? The world held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. In the heart of every legal battle there lies a profound intersection of law and morality. It's not just about what is written in the statutes, but also about what is right and just. When we examine the principles that guide our legal system, we must ask ourselves, are we upholding the spirit of justice, or merely the letter of the law? This is where the true challenge lies, in balancing the scales between legal obligations and moral imperatives. In the pursuit of justice, integrity often comes at a high cost. Upholding the truth can mean facing immense pressure, personal sacrifice, and even public scrutiny. Yet, it is this unwavering commitment to honesty that forms the bedrock of a fair legal system. Imagine a world where the rule of law is overshadowed by fear and coercion. A chilling prospect indeed. where the scales of justice are tipped by intimidation rather than evidence. It's a scenario that threatens the very essence of democracy and the protection of individual rights. The legal system is a cornerstone of democracy, ensuring that every individual is subject to the same laws and protections. It is through this system that we find a balance between authority and liberty, safeguarding our freedoms while maintaining order. In moments of great legal significance, a nation holds its breath. The outcome of such cases can redefine societal norms, influence future legislation, and shape public consciousness. It's a reminder of the profound impact that the judiciary has on the fabric of our society,